I will make good their deficiencies and render permanent their...
The position of their microphone.
Yes, position of their microphone. And render permanent their gains. Doesn't that sound like a wonderful promise? And what the Bhagavad Gita is telling us, what the Lord is telling us through that, is the way to find that is to be united to God through incessant worship. And Yogananda tells us that God is not like a vain, pampered old lady that you have to compliment and praise. Oh, you're just the best. Obsequious praises unceasing. That's not what God is. God is not a pampered old lady. God is instead holding out his hand to us in every moment and saying, will you walk with me? Will you be with me? Will you put your mind on me? We think of devotion sometimes as this, oh my gosh, you have to have a flaming heart full of love for God and be like Mother Teresa or Saint Teresa of Avila or these great saints. And you think, oh my gosh, that's a pretty steep climb. I'm not there yet. I'm just kindling the little flame of desire to know God and to love God, but I don't feel like I have devotion. But if we think of devotion as its other meaning, to put our attention on something, we can be devoted to our garden. We can be devoted to our children, to our dogs, to our job. We can be devoted to lots of things by putting our attention on it. And that's what God wants. He wants our attention. And that attention becomes that heart full of burning desire and love. But if we seek to escape the pain of this world, we need to put our attention on God, on the light of God, on the joy of God, remembering, filling our minds with it. Sometimes I wonder, am I devoted to my computer or am I devoted to God? What's getting more attention? And I start turning off the screens and look for that light here at the point between the eyebrows. Swami famously used to go to the dentist and not take any Novocaine because he didn't like that numb feeling afterwards. And that was like the farthest thing I could think of to do. I would never dream of doing that. It was like, give me Novocaine, give me laughing gas, I'll take anything. And but I remembered Swami saying that. So this was a year or two ago, and I was getting a lot of dental work done at that time. And I would brace myself, just a lot of prayer and whatever sedatives they would give me. And I would go in there fortified and I'd get through it. But this one time, the dentist said, oh, this is just a very simple procedure, 10 minutes maximum. It's just a little thing that we're going to do. 45 minutes later, I was still in the chair. The next day, my whole side of my head was just bruised and aching. It was a terrible experience. And, not a lot of drugs or anything, just a straight experience. And so in the midst of it, turned out she had ordered a part for my automobile of my teeth, and she'd been given the wrong thing. So she was fighting against, she didn't realize it was wrong for about an hour. Anyway, in the midst of that, I had nothing to lean on except Swami's experience. He said, concentrate on the light. Put your mind elsewhere. Put your mind on God. And I did that with every ounce of my energy. And I clung to that light. And I focused at the spiritual eye. And I tried to go into that light. And it worked. These things actually work if you practice them. And I was amazed at how there was this thread of attachment to the body that kept thinking, now you better pay attention to what's going on here. You're responsible for this body. You better take care of this. You better be here. And I kept moving my attention to that light. That was my tiny little experience that shows us that it is possible. I've often told this story, but it's so perfect. Saint Bernadette had a fellow nun in her convent who hated her. She was jealous of all the publicity and attention that Saint Bernadette got through her visions, and this other nun doubted they were even real. She thought Bernadette was just making it all up. And she was older. She'd been in the convent for many years. She no longer had that love of God. She just suffered. And she thought, why is this young nun getting all these experiences? And I've given my whole life and I've got nothing. And one day she was so eaten up with hatred that she finally confronted Bernadette, and she said, I have nothing, no experience of God. You've never suffered. Why are you getting all this experience? And Bernadette thought, well, I don't know. God just gave me this. I haven't suffered. It's true. I don't know why God has given me this. And the other nun was about to leave and just angry and hateful. And Bernadette said, well, wait a minute. There is something. Here, look at this tumor on my leg. And she saw that there was a cancer on Bernadette's leg and she could barely walk. It must have been causing her tremendous suffering. But she didn't even notice or care because she was focused on that light. There's a line in the Festival of Light that we'll do after as part of this Sunday service, and it says, pain is the fruit of self-love, whereas joy is the fruit of love for God. That's what we want. Yoga, this is what got me on this spiritual path. I read that yoga is the pain-free state. And I thought, that's for me. I want that. And I've dedicated my whole life to just touching the surface of the power of yoga, and I hope someday I will attain that state, because that's the state that is our destiny, all of us. To be so focused on that light that nothing else matters. We don't even notice anything else. Joy is the fruit of love for God. So we need to have that faith in God that this woman had, who had suffered for 12 years, not benefiting from anybody's treatment. But one touch of the hem of Jesus' garment, and she was completely healed. All of us, sometimes I think we're all the walking wounded. We have a hemorrhage, we have something. Everybody has something. It's not always obvious, but we always, if we're here, we're carrying something. And I often think that if we can pray like that woman did, who touched Jesus, we put out the energy, we have the faith, we have willpower, and we have great love and devotion. If we can pray like that, whatever we have, whatever affliction we have, will be healed. All the past, my mother, for example, had one of the worst childhoods I have ever heard about. Just neglect and suffering, terrible suffering. And what did she do with that? She came to the point where she thought, well, God is the one who's always been with me. God is my real mother and father. What else do I need? And she rose in spirit through that thought. She overcame this terrible circumstance and realized it was God's way of teaching her to rely on Him alone. Only on Him. I had a experience. This was maybe, 30 years ago, 35 years ago. I was living at Ananda Village, and I worked in a little store that Ananda had in the next town, about a half an hour away. And it was standing on your feet all day, every day, and it had been a long stretch of working, and I was very, very tired, and I was trying to drive home. And I was in the fast lane, going just a little above the speed limit, trying to get home just a few minutes earlier. And I happened to glance in the rearview mirror, and in the middle lane, just a few cars back, was a black and white cop car. And I was so tired and a little guilty because I was going over the speed limit. I thought, okay, I'm just going to slow down. I'm going to move over to the slow lane, and I'm just going to sort of disappear over there. And so I prayed, God, please help me. I know I'm tired, but get me through this, okay? And so I conscientiously put on my turn signal. I looked in the rearview mirror, and I got into the middle lane. Well, there was somebody in my blind spot. I didn't see him. I didn't crash, but he honked his horn, and I was trying to be invisible. And then I sort of sheepishly slunk into the slow lane, and sure enough, there's the flashing light. And he pulled me over. And I prayed, oh God, please help me with this. What am I going to do? And as soon as I rolled down the window and he was standing there, I started in, I am so sorry. As soon as I saw you, I knew I was going to do something and mess it up. And I went on and on like this, and he's standing there. And finally he said, honey, you got black and white fever. And he went on to tell me, this is a thing. I didn't know it was a thing, but that, people see a black and white car and they just get scared and they do dumb things. And he went on to tell me that we're there basically to serve and protect. He was saying we're there to help. We're not there to punish. And he was very, very sweet. He didn't give me a ticket. And I got home. I went a little over the speed limit, but I got home. It was very sweet, and it made me think that God is like that. He's not there to punish us, to give us the ultimate reckoning for every little mistake that we make. Instead, he's saying, my law is there to protect you, to guide you. The law is there to say, don't put your hand on the hot stove. You won't like it. That's what the law is for. To guide us in the right direction that leads us to Him. So put your attention on God. It's something I often do when I'm driving and in traffic. Many of us have a long commute. And if you're a few minutes late and you miss the little window when it's easier to drive, you think, oh no, now I'm stuck in this traffic. I hate this traffic. We have these little mantras that we say sort of unconsciously. We're always doing a mantra of one kind or another in our minds. Instead, let it be, God, help me through this traffic. God, guide my path in everything. Help me in everything I'm doing today, in everything I say, in everything I think, in every action. Put your attention there, and He will be with you in every moment.
This story of the woman suffering for 12 years, there's a lot wrapped up in that. We have a funny running little thing that she always wants to go first speaking, because if she doesn't, I'll take whatever she was going to say. Well, sometimes it works in reverse. I was going to say, we've all been hemorrhaging. And it hasn't just been 12 years. It's been like lifetimes we're talking about. Peace of mind, anxiety. I mean, it's just like, anyway, she sort of got that point, but still thought I would put it in there. But think about, here you have this situation. Yogananda gave a fascinating sort of instruction or example of these. He said, okay, supposing you've been healthy for 50, 60 years, many, many years, most of your life, the vast majority of your life. And one fine year, one fine month, you get sick. Not life-threatening, but debilitating, just really not well. And that goes on for a month, goes on for 3 months, goes on for 6 months. How many people, after 6 months, the 6 months of that illness, would probably, for most people, outweigh the 50 or 60 years, or at least, be a counterbalance against 50, 60 years of good health, because we just get so caught in that experience, caught in that moment. So this lady's got 12 years of having this. I mean, most people, I think, would be dead by the end of 12 years of bleeding. You'd be really anemic. It's really just not a very comfortable picture at all. And obviously having tried treatment, no benefit from anybody's treatment. Well, then what? She hears about this person. What does she hear? We don't know. Maybe she hears that he can raise the dead. Maybe she hears that he can heal the sick. Maybe she hears whatever. Somehow, and then when she finally touches the hem of his cloak and is healed, and he, sort of stops time and makes everybody step back a little, and finally they figure out who it is, he says to her, "Your faith has made you well." He does not say, I healed you. He says, your faith has made you well. That means she attracted it. She drew it to her. And what is that faith? That faith is not blind belief. That faith is knowing. On some level, she had to know this person, this being, this divine light is going to heal me. If I can just get there. Her part, she can't sit at home waiting for it. He's not going to come and bang on the door and, work his way in and say, here, I'm here to heal you. She has to get herself into that crowd, and she has to not only get into the crowd, she's got to get through the crowd, which means she's got to wiggle her way through. I mean, they describe the scene as he was almost suffocated. Now that's a pretty intense crowd. I mean, if they're pushing on you so hard that you're almost suffocating, that's really not a very pleasant thing. And somehow she manages to get through that and touch his cloak. That means she put out some willpower to make that happen. All of us have hemorrhaged in some kind of way or another. And all of us have the potential to be that soul and to get to the light. That light may come to us in the form of a person, it may come as a teaching, it may come as an experience of the divine light in meditation. There's another story that Master gives us from history that there was a soul, there was a devotee who was a diabetic and was in terrible, terrible suffering. Couldn't sit for more than a few minutes at a time to practice meditation. But thought, I've got these few minutes, I can do 2 minutes, I can do 5 minutes, I'm going to try. I'm going to just give it everything I have. 5 minutes became 15, became 30, became more and more and more, hours and hours a day eventually. And there came a time when that vision, the divine vision came, and the light fully came into his being. And afterwards he was healed. The diabetes, everything, all the conditions were gone. It can be a terrible disease, all sorts of suffering. And afterwards he said to God, I didn't ask for healing. I mean, I'm grateful that you healed me, obviously, but I didn't ask for that. And God's response was, where my light is, no darkness can come. And if we think that way, Christ represents that divine light. Yes, he took a human form during that incarnation, but down through the ages, that light has taken human form. That light has taken human form as you, as all of us. We have to get, we might say, whoa, I don't know about that. Well, yes, we wouldn't be in this world if that light wasn't working through us, but we have to allow it to work through us, and we have to get in tune with it. And we have to keep looking for it. This morning in the purification, the fire ceremony, just before the purification ceremony, I had us turn the lights down so that we could really see the light of the fire. Because when it's really bright, it sort of fades back. Well, that's a little bit like the light of the point at the point between the eyebrows, the spiritual eye, which is also above the altar here, a graphic representation of it. We don't necessarily see that. We don't see the light of the stars if we walk outside and look up in the sky. It's blue sky. Yeah, okay, sometimes we can see the moon when it's, partial in its daytime. Sometimes the moon is bright enough we can see it through the blue sky. But it's very unusual to be able to see a star when there's blue sky. Well, it's unusual to be able to see the spiritual eye during the day with our eyes open. In fact, if you can do that, you can know that you have made spiritual progress. If you can see the spiritual eye with your eyes open, you have made definite spiritual progress. And I say that, we sort of chuckle because it's like, maybe not me yet. Well, maybe not yet. But that is a potential. It's a potential for all of us. And so take this example. It's a little uncomfortable of an example, this lady. But take it the next step to the little Bhagavad Gita reading that Nirmala was quoting. By incessant worship, I make good their deficiencies and render permanent their gains. Just think of that. Our part is to do the incessant worship. And maybe that incessant worship starts with 30 seconds. Maybe it starts with 45 seconds. Maybe it starts with 45 minutes. Whatever is appropriate. The point is not the time. The point is the heart connection. The point is the direction. Are we energizing that direction? Because as soon as we energize that direction, we de-energize the direction that says, well, I'm just this body after all. I'm just subject and victimized by this world of circumstances that go up and down. Loved ones get sick, loved ones die, loved ones, whatever it is. Dentists, instead of taking 10 minutes to do a very minimal procedure, spend 45 minutes tearing our mouths apart and putting them back together again. Whatever it may be, we are not victims. We are the divine light. And that divine light, lifetimes go by in a blink. Lifetimes come, lifetimes go, the divine light is there. Calm, joyful, peaceful, wise. That is who and what we are, is that divine light. But we do have to look for it. That is our part. We look for it, we can tune into it. A week from now, we will have Jyotish Devi here with us speaking, and a week from yesterday, next coming Saturday, our Living Yoga Festival will happen out in Folsom. And again, Jyotish Devi will be there. We will get to hear from them and actually from quite a few others, and we certainly invite you and welcome you to come to that. How do you live this? How do you walk the walk that says, I am the divine light? Not boastfully, not, I'm so different from everybody else. Just very simply, the simple acknowledgement that divine light has become this body, has become this personality, has become this life experience. And that divine light is the eternal reality. We'll have the chance to tune into all of that. There will be a session of pranayams. Astara is going to lead a yoga session. Nishala is going to launch a new book. Leela Devi will be there with flower essences. Lots and lots of different activities and events, a number of vendors. Please do come. We have tickets out in the foyer, or you can go online to the website and purchase, or volunteer. Come and help. But support this effort, because it is by our own effort and attunement that the energy flows. Just as this lady had to get on the wavelength of Christ, we have to get on the wavelength of Master. We have to get on the wavelength of the divine grace that is trying to move through our lives. And this is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to do that. So we invite you to do that. And know that God's blessings are with you. If you can't come next weekend, that's fine too. Send your prayers. Send your love and blessings. But whatever we do in this life, feel that we do it as instruments of that divine that is our own true nature. And we will become one with that. Take a moment.